Today, we're diving into the story of a place that is, and I mean this quite literally, on the very edge of existence. We're talking about the Pacific island nation of Kiribati. This is a country on the absolute front line of a global crisis, and its story? Well, it's a warning for all of us. So, let's just start with a single stark number. 2 meters. That's it. That is the average height of Kiribati's islands above the ocean. To give you some perspective, that's less than the height of a professional basketball player. It is an incredibly narrow margin for survival, and believe me, it is shrinking. So just take a second and really think about this. What if your home, your community, your entire country was this close to just disappearing? For the people of Kiribati, this isn't some far-off thought experiment. It is their everyday reality. To really get what's going on, we first have to understand the place itself, because this truly is a paradise, but it's a paradise living right on the edge. So what makes Kiribati so unique is also what makes it so fragile. You're looking at a nation of 33 atolls, these beautiful reef islands just scattered across the Central Pacific. But the land isn't solid rock. It's made of loose, unconsolidated coral sands. It's almost like a series of massive, gorgeous sandbars. And as you can imagine, that makes it incredibly susceptible to the power of the ocean, to erosion. It's this really delicate balance that's now being completely thrown off. Okay, so that brings us to the big scientific question, right? Why is this happening? Let's break down the actual science of why the waters are rising all around Kiribati. It's really a devastatingly simple chain reaction. It starts with global climate change. That leads to the oceans getting warmer and the big ice sheets melting. That, in turn, causes the global sea level to rise. And for a super low-lying nation like Kiribati, that rise directly translates to constant flooding and just catastrophic erosion. And there are two main things driving this. First, as water warms up, it physically expands. It's a basic law of physics called thermal expansion. And second, of course, you've got the glaciers and ice sheets melting at a faster and faster rate, just pouring all that extra water into the sea. Both of these are pushing the ocean higher and higher up Kiribati's shores. But the threat, it's not just the waves you can see crashing on the shore. There's this invisible invasion happening right under their feet. It's called saltwater intrusion. See, as the sea level rises, salt water pushes its way into the ground, and it contaminates the natural freshwater reserves. The only source of drinking water they have, and the water they need to grow food, is literally poisoning the land from below. And, while the main problem is global, some local activities can unfortunately make a really bad situation even worse. Things like mining sand from the beaches for construction, or building houses too close to the water, or even removing protective plants like mangroves. All of this weakens the island's natural defenses and just speeds up the erosion they're trying so hard to fight. But this isn't just about rocks and water and climate science, right? These scientific facts have devastating, real-world consequences. So let's take a look at the human cost for the people who are living right on that front line. It is truly a cascading crisis. It hits every single part of life. That saltwater intrusion we talked about, it ruins their fresh water. The salty soil means their crops can't grow, which threatens their food security. And then the rising tides and bigger storm surges, they flood and destroy homes. And all the critical infrastructure, we're talking schools, hospitals, roads, is just constantly getting damaged or completely washed away. And all of this leads to a really sobering reality, which is captured perfectly in this quote. People are facing the very real possibility of becoming climate refugees, being forced to abandon their homes, their culture, their ancestral lands, not because of a war, but because their environment is becoming simply unlivable. The situation is so serious, so dire, that the government has already taken a pretty drastic step. They've actually purchased a large plot of land in another country, in Fiji, as a potential lifeboat. Think about that. This isn't just some backup plan. It's a government acknowledging that one day their entire nation might have to pack up and move. But, and this is so important, the people of Kiribati, the iKiribati, are not just sitting by as victims. No way. They are actively fighting for their home, and they're using incredible ingenuity and resilience to adapt to this existential threat. The strategies they're using pretty much fall into two camps. On one side, you have hard engineering. These are man-made structures, like seawalls, designed to physically hold back the ocean. And on the other, you have soft engineering, which is all about working with nature.
Things like planting mangroves whose dense roots hold the soil together, or restoring coral reefs which act as amazing natural barriers against waves.
And you can see these strategies in action all over the islands. Seawalls are going up to protect the most vital roads and buildings. Whole communities are getting together to plant thousands and thousands of mangrove saplings. And families are literally jacking up their houses on stilts to try and stay above the rising floodwaters. These are truly acts of defiance and of hope. And this brings us to what might be the most crucial point of all. Kiribati's struggle isn't just some local story happening far away. It carries a profound and urgent message for the entire planet. Kiribati is a textbook example of something called differential vulnerability. It's a powerful concept. It basically means that the people who have contributed the least to the problem of climate change are the ones facing the most severe, most immediate consequences. And they often have the fewest resources to actually deal with it. It just highlights this deep, fundamental unfairness at the heart of the climate crisis. And here's the really stark truth of it all. Despite everything they're doing, all the seawalls, all the mangroves, all the elevated homes, Kiribati's fight for survival shows the absolute limits of trying to adopt locally. You just can't build a wall high enough to hold back the entire ocean. And that makes it crystal clear that their fate isn't ultimately in their own hands. The only real, lasting solution has to be a global one. Kiribati's very survival depends on the rest of the world finally taking meaningful, serious action to tackle climate change at its source. And so that leaves us with one final urgent question. Kiribati is on the front line. What is happening there is a preview of what's to come for coastal communities everywhere, from Miami to Mumbai. So, if this front line is allowed to fall, who is next?